What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we have even more Destiny 2 stuff to talk about. This hype train is pretty much unstoppable. So we're going to speak about time-gated content coming in Destiny 2, some new enemies that we'll see in the sequel. As well as this, we have our first words about how clan rewards will work, and I also wanted to touch on the subject of the third subclass a little bit. So let's talk about time-gated content and activities and the general progression for Destiny 2. So this comes from Finder.com in an interview with Mark Noseworthy. And he said that we're trying to build a game that can totally be people's hobby. And that doesn't mean we're trying to build a game that people need to play all the time. We're trying to build a game that has an incredible variety of content to play, with content that's engaging to play through multiple times. But also, we want to have layered content on top of that. Things like Trials, Iron Banner if it comes back, and things that happen over the calendar period of the game so that you can play for a while, then put it down. And this is where it gets pretty interesting. He goes on to say you can come back when an expansion releases, or if there's something cool happening on this weekend, or oh my god, there's this mission that got turned on Saturday night, what's going on? A lot of that variety comes from the programming of the content. We also do things with strikes. Strikes are awesome for that 3-player dungeon romp with other people, because strikes aren't the same every time you play them. I'm sure the boss you fight is going to be the same, but the encounters that you fight along the way, there's always some randomness with multiple variations of the strikes to keep things fresh. So some pretty interesting words right there. Of course, he referred to Trials and the Iron Banner, but more interestingly for me at least is that he talks about programming and what is essentially time gating of content in the new game. Back in the Taken King, they had multiple kind of time-gated secret missions to unlock exotics. You know, you had the Paradox mission, you had the Sleeper Simulant quest, you had the Black Spindle mission, and they were all kind of unique in their own way, but they were really well managed in terms of time. Every week in the Taken King, you know, for a good few weeks, there was something to do. We saw much less time gating in Rise of Iron, and it was noticeably different. So I think it's going to be, you know, a huge thing if they have stuff locked away for not only weeks, but months in Destiny 2. Of course, this relies on there being enough content at any given time, but from what he's saying here, this is definitely very good news. Up next, Mark Noseworthy talks about the enemies in the new game, particularly the Cabal units that will fight as part of the Red Legion. So you have the War Beast, this is the dog with metal on its face, and these are very much close range enemies that rush you and attempt to kind of claw you, very similar to Thrall. Up next you have the Gladiators. Those are the dudes with the 2 blades, and they just chase you down. They're really beefy, so they're actually kind of hard to take down, and they really push against you as a player. Finally, you have the Incendiors, who have the flaming jetpacks, and they fire flames at you. If you're careful though, you can shoot the gas tank and blow them up. And the article says that these new enemies aren't the only way Bungie is going to set you up for a struggle. They plan to give the NPCs the advantage for each scenario and make the encounters uniquely difficult. Mark Noseworthy said that we're trying to build combatants that support many different types of moods. You have to think of them like football players or different chess pieces on a chessboard. Sometimes that means that we're actually going to force the player into melee range a lot because there's a ton of Thrall out here, and this means you're going to have to melee guys or shotgun them or have some way to control the crowd. Alternatively, everyone's going to be up on a platform really far away, and you're going to have to use long distance rifles to take these guys down. So definitely some interesting words right there. We haven't heard a ton about the other enemy races in Destiny 2. From what we've seen in the trailers, it looks like Hive are most present on Titan, which is a moon of Saturn. We see a Hive Knight with a new kind of visual effect or style. Looks a little bit like more of a cross between the Taken and the Hive. Also on the planet Titan, we see a bunch of Thrall right here. And this is even more interesting because Titan is a moon of Saturn, and Saturn is where we fought Oryx in the Taken King. In this screenshot of Titan, you can see Saturn above, and you can still see the kind of hole in Saturn's rings, which was created by the Dreadnaught's super weapon. So that's a really cool kind of Easter egg or kind of flashback to something that's happened in the past in Destiny. Up next, Luke Smith spoke about clan rewards and kind of their approach to how it's going to work. And he says that clan bonuses should be imagined in a similar light to the Super Bowl rings, for example. So with the Super Bowl, there is not only a winner cup and prize money for the winners, but also there are rings, a commemorative reward which is given not only to the players of the team, but to everyone involved with the team. You know, the coach, people who keep the stadiums and the stands and all that kind of stuff, just to kind of unionize everyone to celebrate. And this is kind of the approach they want the Destiny 2 clan bonuses to have. Every Guardian who is part of the clan is rewarded, no matter whether he has played in a specific guided game or not, for example. It will sometimes happen that you get engrams for activities that you didn't actually take part in. So still kind of vague on what kind of rewards we can expect, but there is definitely a community aspect to the kind of reward system for clans, which is pretty exciting. Finally, I wanted to talk about the third subclass. So going back to the first reveal for Destiny 2, that's when we saw the 3 subclass placeholders on the character screen. Since then though, we've seen this reduced to being just 2 slots, one for your equipped subclass and then one for another subclass. Having seen this again in IGN's footage recently, people are speculating about whether we will indeed see the Taken King subclasses reworked for Destiny 2. Some people are getting kind of upset that we can't see all 3 slots. I personally believe that it could go either way right now for the launch of the game. The main reason I think we could see Taken King subclasses is that, as well as actually seeing those 3 icons, Bungie haven't shut down the idea yet that this could be a thing, and they tend to settle the score relatively quickly with speculation, you know, if it's something that is completely not going to happen. At the same time though, if they include the 3 subclasses immediately, then that limits what Bungie can introduce later down the road, you know? Do you kind of imagine a place where we'll see 4 subclasses, for example? It seems extremely unlikely to me that that's going to happen. So in my opinion, I think they could hold back the 3rd subclass, not simply because they want to cut it and then sell it later or anything like that, but because there is so much that they can learn about how to make the 3rd subclass more unique if they're given the time to see how players utilize the base classes and reflect on what can be done differently in the game. I'm saying this because I don't think it's worth getting irritated right now if we don't get those subclasses immediately. It's worth remembering that naturally, when you develop a product that evolves over time, you're going to conceive features that you can't realize and launch with all of your other aspirations, if that makes sense. I would personally rather they release the stuff that is concrete and in a good place, as opposed to throwing half-baked elements into the game and then aiming to fix them later down the road. I do completely understand the craving to have all 3 subclasses in the game. You know, if I could jump in on my Sunbreaker Titan, I'd be super happy, but in the long term, there are some good reasons why waiting is also a beneficial move. For now though, we have no real information about this from Bungie, so anything could happen, and I think we're just going to have to wait and see. So anyway guys, there we go, just a breakdown of some new stuff we've learned and a couple of thoughts from me about the subclass situation. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think in the comments section below. I always love the conversation and seeing what people think in the comments section. It's really interesting, so be sure to make your thoughts heard. For now though, if you have enjoyed the video, a like is very much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit subscribe to see a lot more Destiny 2 coverage going forward. For now though, I appreciate you guys watching. Whatever you do, have an awesome day.